Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Jeffrey H. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Just a heads up, I have what I think is an internal sty in my eye that's driving me crazy. So today's episode will be shorter and I'm going to skip some smaller stories I would usually cover. So thanks in advance for understanding. Let's talk about this Tesla patent that everyone seems to be speculating about that has been published, not yet granted. And to get the disclaimer out of the way, just because Tesla has a patent out does not mean they're definitely going to implement that technology. But this one certainly seems like something we might see on an upcoming Cybercab. In short, think of this patent as Tesla describing a new smart roof, and one that incorporates radio frequency, I'll refer to as RF, transparent materials to enable integration of overhead electrical modules and components. Traditional roofs usually use metallic or glass material, but those present limitations when it comes to RF transmission and reception. Further, the assembly of electronic modules and components in cars with conventional roofs often requires complex, time-consuming processes. This leads to overhead installation that's labor-intensive and can limit opportunity for automation on the assembly line. So as we go through this, just keep Tesla's unboxed method in mind. And I'll stop here just so you don't accuse me of burying the lead. Plenty of people are saying this is Tesla getting ready for a native Starlink integration, but let's just say I have my doubts. I'll explain why. Tesla is explaining a solution that uses RF transparent polymer materials to enable the integration of overhead electrical modules and components directly into the roof structure. This facilitates the consolidation of electronic systems that require a clear path to communicate with external devices and satellites. For those in the material space, Tesla's talking about high-strength polymer blends like polycarbonate, ABS, or ASA, which are chosen for their RF transparency as well as their structural properties. In some examples, these polymers also allow for the roof to be opaque, thereby reducing solar radiation transmission, lowering the thermal load on the cabin. Some iterations would allow Tesla to pre-populate the roof construction with selected electrical components, which can then be installed as a single unit during vehicle assembly. This results in efficiencies for assembly workers and a reduction in assembly time and effort. The roof can be pre-assembled on a horizontal surface, eliminating the need for overhead installation and enabling full automation of the roof subsystem assembly. The polymer roof construction also offers superior acoustic insulation properties to reduce in-cabin airborne noise. The polymer roof itself has a degree of flexibility and can deflect or bend to some extent. This provides an additional mechanism for energy absorption, which can result in a thinner overall roof construction, allowing for more headroom inside the vehicle and potentially reducing the weight of the roof assembly. This solution can also benefit from part reduction, fitting with Tesla's ethos, the best part is no part, and the material offers superior dent resistance, better craftsmanship through molded datum pins, and if you remember what we talked about with the Cybercab, those datum pins will sound familiar, sharper feature formability, and a variety of color options and inherent corrosion resistance. The polymer roof provides opportunities for colorant within the resin, negating the need for post-process painting. So if you've been following along, you'll be in agreement. This sounds a lot like what we're expecting with the Cybercab. But because the patent lists things like a satellite communication component, everybody immediately is jumping to Starlink. But if you actually read the patent, when Tesla's talking about this satellite communication component, they're specifically referring to a GNSS satellite, which stands for Global Navigation Satellite System, which is not actually what Starlink is. Just think of this like GPS positioning rather than a full-on broadband internet service. But in this electronics module that Tesla might plan to integrate into the roof directly, it would be not only a satellite communication component, a satellite antenna, an LTE component, LTE antenna, a speaker, a fan, a connectivity card, a processor, a Bluetooth low energy component, a microphone, a map light, and a switch. The switch may include a manually operable switch to operate the vehicle hazard lights, for example. So I hope it's clear after reading through those highlights that even if this is not a direct Starlink integration, which in my opinion it is not, this is still a nice step forward for something like the Cybercab. And to make it explicitly clear, Starlink is not mentioned anywhere in the patent. But again, the only satellite system that was named was that GNSS, which is more GPS. There was nothing in there about a LEO constellation or broadband satellite, nothing about KU bands or KA bands or phased arrays. And again, nearly every time it specifies what type of satellite, it's talking about GNSS communication, which is not Starlink's intended purpose. And based on all the images and the sizing and the very small cooling fan, it does not seem like this solution would be robust enough for something like a Starlink terminal. Now, in 2022, Elon said Starlink V2 will transmit direct to mobile phones, eliminating dead zones worldwide. Dave Lee said, will Tesla cars get this feature too in the future to connect directly to Starlink satellites for emergency calls and texts? To which Elon said yes. But again, this is a very limited and different use case than full-on broadband internet access. So I would say this solution Tesla lays out in the patent that's designed for low bandwidth antennas like LTE and GNSS could align with that low-speed direct-to-cell satellite connectivity that Elon was talking about back in 2022. So from that standpoint with Starlink, I think there could be something here, but I know that most people are expecting a full-on Starlink integration here with broadband internet, and I'm just not seeing that with this patent. But again, even without full-on Starlink integration, this still has many positive aspects for Tesla, not the least of which would be avoiding those sometimes bulky external shark fin housings you see on the exterior of a vehicle. So in summary, no, I do not think this patent tells us that Starlink integration, a full-on integration, is coming to Tesla vehicles anytime soon. But despite that, I still think there are some awesome innovations and efficiencies and smart tech and manufacturing simplicities that we're very likely to see with the unboxed method with the upcoming Cybercab. It's very easy to tell when Elon gets laser focused on a subject. Nick Patane said the convergence Elon's talking about, Tesla AI chips, SpaceX satellites, xAI's Grok, AI data centers in space. And Elon replied saying convergence. As I've been saying, this is certainly a multi-year project, but I know that many people still just aren't really getting it. They're not grasping it. Maybe it feels a bit like science fiction to some people, but at the end of the day, this is where all roads are leading. Elon said SpaceX has way more satellites in orbit than the rest of the world combined, so maybe we know a thing or two about the subject. Starlink V3 will be 20 kilowatts and launched at scale around Q4 next year. No problem to scale that to over 100 kilowatts if the satellite mass is shifted towards solar arrays and radiators for AI compute instead of giant phased array antennas for internet connectivity. It would use the same laser communication system as Starlink to connect to Starlink. An AI satellite is easier, not harder, than the Starlink V3 design, which is a marvel of engineering created by an epic team of humans. I don't know many armchair quarterbacks that would be more informed on this subject than Elon, and he's saying an AI satellite's actually easier than Starlink V3. And Farzad laid out exactly what we've been explaining for the past week. The year's 2028. Tesla makes the AI-7 inference chip. xAI buys the AI-7 inference chip. xAI puts AI-7 in Starlink AI satellite. Starlink AI goes in Starship, where it then gets dropped off in orbit. Tesla solar panels unfurl and power Starlink AI satellite with Tesla inference chips. xAI uses Tesla-powered Starlink AI satellite dropped off by SpaceX to power Grok across all devices, including Tesla cars and bots. Starship goes up multiple times per day to drop off more satellites because the regulations for putting AI inference chips in space pale in comparison to those on the surface of the Earth. Everyone stands around and wonders how xAI built such a massive lead. So it's abundantly clear to me that this is 100% Elon's plan, and you can buy into it or not. But as someone who likes to invest in companies that have plenty of built-in upside and outs for poker fans, you really can't ask for that much more than what Tesla has in store. Phil said the takes on the SpaceX IPO saying it shows Elon's not focused on Mars have lost the plot. The hardest part about Mars has always been finding a way to pay for it, nothing else. Raising capital for scaling Starlink plus AI is the most important thing SpaceX can do for Mars. To which Elon said, yeah. And listen, I'm sure timelines will be wrong and details and specifics will change as the technology progresses. And as I've said, there are still engineering challenges that need to be figured out. But directionally, given that it's clear this is where everything is headed, I think it's important for the average Tesla investor to start to internalize this and get comfortable with the future of Tesla. Because whether you love it or you hate it, the days of focusing on auto gross margins are mostly completely out the window for Tesla's future valuation. Trump did indeed sign that executive order for a new framework for AI at the federal level. But here's the thing, as I said, executive orders are not permanent, so this could be reversed in a matter of a few years. And further, if I had to summarize this EO, it's effectively giving power to federal authorities to fight back against states that are putting in burdensome AI regulations. So it doesn't necessarily lay out a specific federal framework for AI, but rather empowers organizations to push back on the states that are making things difficult for certain AI companies. It says within 30 days, the AG shall establish an AI litigation task force whose sole responsibility shall be to challenge state AI laws inconsistent with the policy set forth in Section 2. Within 90 days, the Secretary of Commerce, in tandem with some other bodies, will publish an evaluation of existing state AI laws that this group identifies as onerous laws that conflict with the policy in this executive order. As we expected, there will be restrictions on state funding for those states putting in these burdensome regulations, but there are some areas where federal AI laws are not going to preempt what the states decide, one of those being child safety protections. But what this means for Tesla, California has a law like SB 53 that mandates certain high-risk AI systems, think FSD, that requires specific safety plans. So there's a world where this new litigation task force will challenge some of those burdensome rules, which could halt the enforcement of them. So in time, if that's how it plays out, then that could accelerate Tesla's robotaxi rollouts, specifically in those states that are 1, making it difficult for Tesla, and 2, making it expensive and laborious for Tesla to do. So there's still a bit of uncertainty about how this will tangibly play out for Tesla. But of course, directionally, on a day when the NASDAQ was down about 1.7%, Tesla was up about 2.7%, so that's a significant outperformance. And you guys know I always say you can never just point to one thing for any market move on any given day, but in this case, I would be comfortable saying this executive order is one of the primary drivers. On the FSD front, the awakening continues. Chuck Cook said, I don't make predictions very often, but FSD version 14. Whatever they get to is just really, really, really good. I think I could be in the back seat on most drives now. Alex did a demo drive of version 14 in Germany, and his verdict, Tesla has solved autonomous driving. Jeremy Lefebvre, who has been kind of off the deep end when it comes to Tesla things as of late, he just bought a new Model X, and now he's saying Tesla has solved full self-driving. We have Carbon Cut after an FSD demo drive saying it's ready for Europe. I have absolutely no doubt this system is fully capable of complying with all EU safety requirements. In fact, I think it will exceed them. During the whole ride, the car acted so naturally, yet it followed every single traffic regulation perfectly. We went through peak rush hour in Munich with 0 interventions. I'm pretty sure all the data being collected right now will make Tesla self-driving even more capable for when the final exam comes, the RDW demonstration February 2026. And you guys know that's what I've been saying. That's where all eyes should be. When it comes to Tesla investors potentially getting early or discounted access to SpaceX shares in its IPO, Phil Beisel had a post laying out 4 ways Elon and Tesla could do this. One option was SpaceX reserving a portion of IPO shares, around 5 to 10% exclusively for verified Tesla retail investors, giving them first access or a small discount through a special portal. Phil laid out some other more complicated options as well, which in the future, if we get indications that's what they're going to do, we'll certainly dive in. But I'm sharing this because Phil said in the comments this post received a VIP like, which I think is safe to say Elon liked that post. So as I said, there's no guarantee that Elon, Tesla, and SpaceX can pull this off, but all indications are that Elon wants to and will be working through all available options. Elon said again, AI5 and AI6 engineering is my biggest time allocation at Tesla. AI5 will be good, AI6 will be great. Tesla gave a disappointing PowerShare update and said, "We're writing to let you know the PowerShare with Powerwall feature is still in development and is now scheduled for release mid-2026. The new date gives us more time to design and test this feature, ensuring its ability to communicate and optimize energy sharing between your vehicle and many configurations and generations of Powerwall. We're also using this time to develop additional PowerShare features." Wes from Tesla said, "I empathize with the disappointed comments. To their credit, the team has delivered PowerShare functionality to Cybertruck customers who otherwise have no backup with development of the PowerShare gateway, as well as those with solar only using existing hardware. The last cohort are the customers who already have a battery backup, where this will provide longer off-grid stability. It turned out to be much harder than anticipated to make PowerShare work seamlessly with existing Powerwalls through existing wall connectors. 2 grid-forming devices need to negotiate who will form and who will follow, depending on state of charge of each. And they need to do this without a network and through multiple generations of hardware, and test and validate this process through rigorous certifications to ensure grid safety. But the team is committed to figuring it out, and they're trying to be transparent about the timing." We have this account on X saying that Tesla's Model Y L, currently only made in China, just received Europe type approval. So far, I was not able to find any official documents, but this could be a leak situation. So I'll keep an eye on this in the coming weeks, but they're saying that the release could be Q1 2026 for the Model Y L in Europe. So for me, I would not say this is official yet. There are some articles picking up this news, but they're all just citing this X account as their source.
Nissan is making a bold push to compete with Tesla in self-driving technology. The automaker is developing a hands-off, eyes-on system modeled after Tesla's full self-driving, partnering with British startup Wave to integrate AI-powered camera vision. Nissan's next-generation Pro Pilot aims to launch by early 2028 at under $4,000, less than half of Tesla's $8,000 FSD price, making autonomous features accessible to mainstream buyers while navigating regulatory hurdles and its ongoing financial crisis.
And some of you will remember back in September when we said that Nissan was facing its worst financial crisis in 25 years. So they're definitely deploying the let's throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks strategy. And by 2028, Tesla is very likely to be at scale. Now, before I even talk about Rivian's autonomy and Investor Day, I would like to point out a few things. First, it took Tesla 12 years after selling its first car to generate a quarterly net profit. Rivian sold its first car in September 2021, so Rivian's only had 4 years. So I hope people use this context to stop expecting Rivian to be making money right now. Now sure, you can argue that Rivian is burning cash at a rate that Tesla never did, but to expect Rivian to be making money at this point, especially when they're taking the Tesla approach of heavy vertical integration, I just don't think it's completely fair. Rivian's also working to solve autonomy in-house. It's designing its own AI chips in-house. And on the autonomy front, no one should be expecting Rivian to deliver anything close to FSD anytime soon. It's a project Tesla's been working on for nearly a decade. So yes, Rivian is going to be 5 to 10 years behind no matter where it starts and no matter what approach it takes. That's to be expected. In some ways, Rivian has a second mover advantage getting to watch all of these approaches and seeing the early results, but everybody knows at this point it's just a race for second place. No one is close to Tesla, and no one's going to catch Tesla anytime soon. But with that out of the way, I am puzzled as to some choices Rivian is making. So I watched Rivian's Autonomy and AI Day presentation and have pretty mixed feelings. Starting with the elephant in the room, Rivian's decision to include front-facing LiDAR. Of course, as Tesla followers, it's easy to criticize this decision. We immediately think of the sensor fusion problems that Tesla detailed in the early years of using even radar in tandem with cameras. But for me, it's pretty simple. Rivian is in a push to position itself as a legit player in the autonomy space, and it made a point to announce its now 3.5 million miles of roads that it covers, where it will offer hands-free driving as soon as next month. And that's with its current autonomous platform ahead of LiDAR introduction next year. Right now, for me, LiDAR is like bumpers at the bowling alley. It can give you a boost in the short term and help you get started, but in the long run, it's likely going to be a crutch. But there's actually more to Rivian's approach here that the casual observer is not mentioning. Before sharing it though, I will say I get frustrated when these companies say camera only doesn't work at night or in the rain or in the snow, because I'm literally using a camera only system in those conditions and it's awesome. The real problem is these companies know they don't have the time, data, or resources to make a camera only system work. However, in Rivian's defense, they'll be feeding all of its sensor data into an AI model using its RAP, Rivian Autonomy Platform, trained on this fused sensor data, and the AI model will decide which sensor to lean on. This is different than Tesla because in Tesla's case years ago, it was trying to sort out the sensor fusion problem while using rule-based codes, whereas Rivian will be leaning on an AI model to make the decision. So I did want to point out that difference. But despite that, I think ultimately the most important thing to remember is LiDAR does not make the car smart. At best, you can argue it helps the car see in some situations, but as we've seen with Waymo, that does not give the car intelligence. And ultimately, autonomy is a software problem. And only time will tell how advanced Rivian's AI platform really is. I have my doubts given its limited fleet size and thus limited data, limited financial resources, but I'm not going to write them off completely just yet. And plenty of people are asking why Rivian would not license FSD, and my answer would be that Elon made it clear Tesla would not license FSD unless it was at scale, and given Rivian will be selling under 50,000 vehicles this year, that's certainly not the type of scale Tesla would want. Plus, it's what I keep saying, these companies understand if they want any type of valuation premium, they need to act like they're going to have an in-house solution, or at least one that's developed in partnership, not an outright licensing of someone else's tech. I'm not arguing it's the right move, I'm just explaining the reasoning that's likely behind it. James Dauma's initial reaction to Rivian's AI Day was the facepalm emoji. But then James elaborated. He said, "Robotaxi is a software problem. There's a non-negligible hardware component, but the overwhelming requirement for success is performant software. No amount of hardware will substitute for good software. Anybody focusing on adding extra hardware to compensate for bad software is doomed." As of today, this is very clear. What set of messed up incentives, delusions, ignorance led to this Christmas tree architecture? Dauma clarified that was his opinion on the ADAS technical direction, which is, roughly speaking, not good. The people might be great, the company might be great, the trucks might be great, I don't know, but I cannot fathom this decision in the face of the existence proof of FSD. It's bizarre. But for me, it's actually not bizarre. There's only one Elon that operates truly from first principles and has the conviction to work through the challenges of camera only. And further, to do so in the face of the industry-wide dogma that LiDAR is better and required. because remember, that's the prevailing sentiment from almost everyone outside of Tesla. So not only do other companies like Rivian not have the software and AI know-how to make camera-only work, but maybe more importantly, they're not willing to take the risk. And if that right there doesn't encapsulate why Elon is critical to Tesla, then I'm not sure what will. And James said it perfectly. He was asked, why do you think adding extra sensors automatically means you're overcompensating for bad software? Seems like a major assumption. To which Dalma said, if you put 8 legs on a chair, I'm gonna have questions. And guess what? Elon replied to all of this with a bullseye emoji. So I'm wishing Rivian the best, but let's just say I have my doubts about how far along the software will be by next year. And for what it's worth, Rivian will offer its Autonomous Plus package for $2,500 outright or $50 per month. But on the AI assistant front in the vehicle, in partnership with Google, Rivian might be up to something here. It was just a demo, and we'll have to see how it works in the real world, but Rivian seems to have spent a lot of time and resources building an AI-defined vehicle.
The agentic integration allows us to not only connect with your calendar and read it, but also take actions and manage it.
Can you move my call with Tim to 5 p.m.?
I've moved your call with Tim to 5 p.m.
Can you make the seats toasty for everyone except me?
Let's check this out. Imagine the possibilities that this opens up. We did not only want to stop at reading your message, even with this beautifully integrated UI. The messaging app with this new AI platform is fully integrated into the vehicle operating system and has access to every single application and control.
We're hungry. Can you find some restaurants near my destination?
I found Tureen, about 36 miles away in San Francisco. It has a 4.2 star rating. Would you like to go there or explore other options?
Actually, can you send a text message to Wasim and show him the top 3 options from this list? Ask him which one he wants to meet up at, and include my ETA.
Wow! Would you like to send a message?
So this voice assistant is set to launch in early 2026 on first and second gen R1 vehicles and can handle things like climate control, navigation, messaging, and some other third-party apps in the future, again, using natural language. So this is exactly what we want to see from Tesla with its Grok integration eventually. So I really do love to see this for Rivian. Hopefully it delivers in the real world and is not buggy. And hopefully the rest of the industry takes notice that AI and software-defined vehicles are trending to become the new baseline. I almost didn't share this because it's already out of stock, and if you wanted one, I don't want you to be bummed. Hopefully they restock soon. I would definitely sign up for alerts. But out of nowhere, Tesla dropped a collaboration with pickleball company Selkirk to drop a Tesla plaid pickleball paddle for $350, which yes, is one of the more expensive pickleball paddles on the market, but this is absolutely not just some Tesla branded slop. And it does come with this nice bag. Fun fact about me, I fell in love with pickleball earlier this year, but on this paddle they said it was not simply a branding exercise, it was a true engineering collaboration. Tesla's design group and Selkirk's R&D team spent more than a year trading data, refining geometry, and stress testing prototypes. On Tesla's end, they focused their rigorous testing efforts on airflow behavior around the paddle during various swing paths, evaluating drag coefficients, turbulent wake patterns, and how specific geometry adjustments affected acceleration.
This paddle puts up ridiculous spin numbers. 20 top spin serves averaged 2,484 RPM. Out of the 415 paddles in my database, only one has ever produced more spin, the Diadem Hush, which uses a soft rubber face and isn't tournament approved.
So I think this is absolutely awesome that Tesla took this seriously, and everyone at my local pickleball court knows I'm a big Tesla guy, so of course I had to grab one, so I'll be in touch with my review. And if you've never played and you ever get the chance to, I could not encourage it more. I think it's a great activity for people of all ages and athletic levels, and there's usually some pretty incredible community that's a part of it, and this is just one more way for Tesla to get its name out there in the world. Tesla Tesla stock closed the day at $458.96, up 2.7%, while the NDX was down 1.9%. The volume was 22% above the average. Hope you all have a safe and wonderful weekend. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X, linked below. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.